Hello and welcome to Horror Legend with your hosts,
Legend.
and Chris. Mabso-sa. That's Korean for, oh my god.
I was sitting here like, why are you writing this down?
I had to look that up really quick. I don't know any Korean except for Annyeonghaseyo. So, well, if you haven't guessed, it's a Korean horror movie this week.
Yes.
And welcome to Horror Legend. I am your horror weenie host, Chris.
And I'm your horror buff host, Legend.
Legend. Okay, this week we watched, I'm going to get this right, Gonjiam, Haunted Asylum.
Yes.
Yes. A found footage supernatural movie.
Yeah, we thought we'd get a 2-in-1, two birds with one stone kind of
Exactly.
situation going on.
Yeah.
So yeah, Gonjiam, Haunted Asylum. It came out in 2018. Seems to be a little more independent, unless it got like a big release in Korea, because I obviously didn't get one here. Yeah, definitely didn't get one in the United States. Now I'm going to say these names and hope that I at least pronounce them a little correctly.
Hopefully better than you pronounce.
Listen. So it was directed by Jung Bom-shik, and it is starring Wee Ha-jun. He's actually in Squid Game as the detective in both seasons of Squid Game, and Park Sung-hoon, who is also in Squid Game. I believe in the second season they played a trans character, actually. Now I believe they are cisgender playing a trans character in that season, but it's at least a little progressive. True. And it was honestly a sweet story, so at least it wasn't terrible.
Yeah, exactly.
Seen in a bad light or anything. But yeah, this is a found footage paranormal movie. We haven't done a found footage movie yet.
No.
I don't think. I mean, let's be honest, there's very few good ones.
Yeah, I personally do not like Blair Witch Project. I don't think it's good. Sorry.
I'm like, no, listen, like, it's the classic. It's the one
Exactly.
that really started everything with that.
Yeah.
I mean, the marketing team behind that was insane.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I remember when that came out.
It was so good. But the movie itself was all right.
Yeah, it was okay.
Like, I could see living the advertising and going into the movie and having it be all together and be kind of cool.
Yeah.
But it's like you watch it later in life and it's like, it's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, this one was actually pretty good.
I thought it was pretty good. It's like Blair Witch. It starts off as like a found footage, iPhone footage kind of thing. Very very low tech, sort of like low budget sort of thing. That you're assuming the whole movie is going to be that way.
Yeah.
And then it breaks into kind of a mockumentary style thing where the narrator is. Do we see him again, or is he's not the producer later? Is he? No.
Yes. Yeah.
He is the producer.
He's the captain of the team.
Okay.
So yeah, he's going in the beginning. He's going into the whole history of the asylum. With the director and everything, which I'm sure was recreated footage. Hopefully.
Yeah, I hope so.
Which was kind of cool that they did like recreated like documentary footage and stuff, and then yeah, it's him introducing it, but yeah, he's the captain of the team, which is was it Terror Time?
I forgot to write it. His thing is Horror Time.
Horror Time.
Yeah. It is interesting to see, because in the little documentary part at the beginning, it's interesting to see like the haunted lands of other places. The whole like sour earth kind of thing. You know, there are areas that are just simply areas of the land that are just simply bad in places, and different cultures have different, sorts of like Japan has that forest where people commit suicide.
Yes.
I don't know. I find that interesting.
It's like different places are like weirdly supernatural, and then also seen as like monuments to that type of thing.
Yeah.
Or I feel like it's treated different here in the United States, I think, where it's just like, oh, this house is haunted. It's like, I feel like in places like this in other countries, they like, oh, this place is like haunted and it has all this history. We actually like care about the history and like the hauntedness of it, and like respect it.
Well, like this asylum. I don't know if this is true, but it's in the movie. This asylum was built on land that was the site of a massacre by the Japanese. It was like a bunch of other stuff that happened there. They went over it very briefly in the documentary part.
That's kind of a cool parallel because here the cliche is that it's built on an Indian burial ground.
Which I believe there are places here that are just you should not go to.
Or build on.
They're sites of like major events that were just gruesome and terrible.
Yeah.
And especially as someone who's white, don't go there.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is
you
like
shouldn't be there.
that's the thing too is like it's a trope of like Indian burial ground, but also if it is one, maybe don't build on top of it.
I mean, the whole country is one, so
That
I
is
don't
very
see
true.
what you can do.
It's very true. But like you know what I mean. Like the site of like this land here was the site of a massive battle where
Exactly.
Like hundreds of Native Americans were slaughtered in this area. It's
Yeah.
like maybe don't build on top of that.
Yeah.
Maybe give it a little respect there.
Yeah, exactly.
So like that makes sense for this with the parallel of it. Like Japanese attack, people died. We built on top of it.
Yeah.
And of course, it's now getting messed with by all these spirits that are kind of angry.
Yeah. Plus, there was a lot of people that died in the asylum as well, obviously, who seems to be the main people haunting it.
Which, I
later.
mean, you really think about the history of psychiatric hospitals and stuff. I mean, even in other countries.
Horrible.
And
Everywhere.
It's like, not only were they bad because they didn't fully have the technology to treat these people back then, but also humans are assholes and like to completely treat people terribly and then have power over people and just like torture people for no reason. And these places were, even in the United States, were like hotbeds for that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Where it was like, somebody claims to not be mentally unstable, and all the doctors treat them as, when they're talking about it, is like, oh, you're just saying that because you are mentally unstable, and we have to keep doing this to you.
Yeah. I mean, it's like there's a God complex.
Yes.
The Dr. God complex
that's
thing.
what,
And then there's also like just, I think, mistreatment because of frustration. Sometimes, if you have to deal with that day in and day out,
it's like day in, day out, and then you're like a doctor. You feel like you're supposed to have the answers, and then you don't. And you get frustrated, then you just start taking it out on your patients. It's just it's a God complex is a good descriptor for that.
Yeah. So we start with after the documentary. There's a group of young people that generally investigate haunted places. Some of them do it together. Sometimes there was one, Charlotte. She was the only one with the anglicized name, Charlotte.
I loved it. They're like introducing themselves, and it's all these like
this is Ahyeon.
Really Korean names, and then
I'm Charlotte.
I'm Charlotte. And which made sense to me because I realized later on that she was the one that talked about how her family was in the States and she was just here because she was in South Korea because of her dance troupe.
Yeah.
So that made some more sense to me that she had a more of an Anglo name.
And she's the one that had investigated other places because she said she went to all of the top.
Oh yeah, she went to the Suicide Forest in Japan.
Yeah, the Suicide Forest in Japan, the island of dolls in
Mexico.
Mexico.
Oh yeah, she talked about the island of dolls,
which I love. If you ever watched the, I don't know if that was That wasn't Ghost Files. It was the one before that. BuzzFeed Unsolved, Supernatural.
Yeah.
They go there and it's very creepy.
That place is terrifying.
Place is so creepy.
I want to go there.
Yeah.
I want to go to some of these places, but I know I would freak out. And like being in another country and being freaked out.
Well, yeah, that's true.
I don't know if I can do it.
It's pretty cool though, because it's this little island in like a swampland almost.
Yeah.
And it's just covered in creepy ass dolls that are like hanging from every surface.
And don't they like not know who put them up?
No, it was the guy. I don't know whether this is part of its fact, part of its legend. Okay. It was like a single guy that did it.
I was there.
But supposedly he did it to It was either to appease a spirit of a girl there, or his girl died, or something. I don't remember.
Oh, okay.
It was something like that.
I think
it
I
kind
do
of
remember hearing about
ties a
that.
little bit into like La Llorona type of
Okay.
things and stuff like that. It it's really interesting though, and the forest in Japan is super interesting too, because it's just where people go to commit suicide, and it's been that way for a very long time.
I know. I wonder. I don't know if they ever put any like thing in place to like maybe help people and stop people from doing that.
They do. They have like help services and things like
Oh,
posted.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is crazy because when you see pictures of it, beautiful forest.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
But you know the history, and it just has this like weird veil over it.
Yeah.
Of, like
Yeah.
of just supernatural, or like maybe like the line between our world and the other world's a little thin
Yeah.
over there because of
Yeah.
all these deaths.
Yeah. Let's go on a vacation. So, after some water sports, they actual water. They are actually doing water sports.
Yeah, this
They're-
was like
they're-
they're like actually swimming in a lake.
yeah, they're actually in a lake,
In a
like
lake.
jumping off of one of those giant trampoline balloon things. I don't know what they're
I
called.
forgot what they're called officially.
Anyway,
But it's like the classic like, you know, opening of a found footage movie a little bit where it's like, oh, we're introducing like people, like, oh, we're meeting each other, like,
Yeah.
oh, are you filming me?
yeah.
Oh my god.
We're all having fun.
We're
now.
having fun in the beginning.
We strap GoPros to our heads and like jump in the water.
Jump in the water.
It's it's
Which
cute.
isn't bad, but it's cute. And it's
cute.
Cute, it's cliche, it's fun. Like,
By the way, most of the guys in this are really hot too. So,
oh my god. I
if
don't
only just to
understand.
watch it for that. They
Especially the two from Squid Game are like so cute. It's
Yeah.
insane.
yeah. They arrive at the asylum, and they're in the woods outside of it. It seems like they have to kind of hike a little bit to get there, too. That's creepy to set your base camp up, like, outside, like, far away
yeah.
from what you're doing.
It was like the drive, and then yeah, they get to like this like mountainous hill
Yeah.
thing. They have to climb all this, and then set up their tent and everything for base camp.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there like, oh, they probably use generators and stuff. But still, like having it outside the place.
Oh, I knew that
into
was
the middle
going to
of the
be
woods,
an
like-
issue later.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, that's going to be an issue later, because they're not going to be able to find the tent. And, of course, they weren't. So... yeah, they have to hike there for some reason. Leaving the car well behind that. Even keep the car right next to the damn house so you can run out.
Yeah, right. Set up the camp on the road with the car,
Yeah,
so that you can just get out.
yeah,
If you need to, and maybe have a better plan for leaving landmarks of how to get back
yeah.
in the dark
Except
through
for
the
like a
forest.
pair of underwear that they found.
Yeah.
A pair of like big underwear that they found.
that they found and tied to a tree as a landmark. I love the use of. They really made use of all of the equipment they had, from the GoPros to the
Yeah.
drone to the camcorders. Like they didn't really, and then when they set up the CCTV cameras in the actual asylum, like they made use of everything,
Yeah,
which was kind of cool.
I really love all that ghost hunting equipment. I just think it's cool. We should buy some.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm down. Maybe we can get it from Alex LeMay.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, we get it all bedazzled.
Get it bedazzled and studded out.
When they get to the tent, they were eating my favorite brand of ramen, and it made me want it.
It looks so good.
It's that spicy Korean one. I can't remember the name of it. Comes in a red package. I love it so much. They are. Oh yeah, they go through a little part where they're kind of explaining their equipment too.
Yeah.
Like the cameras that go back and forth.
The ones that are attached to the front of them
Yeah.
that face them.
Yeah, the EMF readers.
The EMF readers.
All that, which they don't even use.
They say in the beginning like, oh, we're setting up the CCTV cameras beforehand
Uh-huh.
in the asylum.
Yeah.
Honestly, would not want to be on that crew that has to go in by themselves to set up cameras in those different rooms.
Do you know what I was confused about? Is that okay? So like the most haunted room in this place is room 402.
Yes.
It's like the really spooky room, like the one that has the most activity, etc. some kids may have died after they opened it up, or some other people too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, there was the kids in the beginning of the movie that
Yeah.
are just filming themselves in the
Yeah.
asylum being stupid. And I think they said they disappeared.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then there was the girls that they were talked about that were there that they didn't. Oh, they died later in the hospital, and one of them didn't wake up.
Oh, okay.
But they found them passed out in front of the door because they're trying to get it open.
So this is what happens when you take notes and there's subtitles.
Oh,
because you miss things.
You missed a couple things. But yeah, and then later on they said that 2 of the girls had died, and then one of them just never woke up. So I don't know if she's dead or in a coma.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
I don't know.
But
setting up cameras in there, they had a camera in 402.
it was down the hall at 402.
Oh, okay. I thought they had a camera in there. I was like, but they couldn't open the door. I'm so confused. Okay.
Yeah, when they showed that 402 camera, it was
Yeah.
down the hall facing the doorway.
Oh, okay. It was outside.
And which is the one
All
they
right.
used later with the flashing lights.
That confused me.
Yeah.
All right. Got it. Because they could not open the door to 402. It was like bolted shut or something.
I mean, it was, yeah. I mean, they were trying to saw it open at some point.
Yeah, they're trying to saw it open, like kick it down. They couldn't get it open. They swear in English a lot, which is funny to me.
Yeah.
They just switch over to English when they want to like say, "What the fuck is that?"
Well, and I remember like Charlotte switches to English a couple times, but she was the one with parents in the
That would
States.
make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've noticed that in a few things from other countries and stuff. Well, occasionally you have that one person that'll switch to English a couple times.
Yeah. That's because English has the best swear words, which I was talking about while we were watching it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the amount of uses the word fuck has.
Yeah. No other language really has that depth of it. Correct me if I'm wrong. Has that depth of like swearing. It really doesn't.
No. At least from what I know.
Yeah. At the beginning there, when they start investigating, they're still outside, but they start having like video issues.
Oh, the glitches.
The glitches
Yeah.
with the video, which at first I thought was the streaming. I really did.
I did for a second until I saw the subtitles were still going, and I was like, okay, it's not
Yeah.
it's not Prime. We're good.
They get inside. The first jump scare is like a door slamming shut.
Classic.
On its own. Classic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really loud.
Where he's like, I'm gonna tell you what equipment we have throughout the thing, and then it just slams shut right before you can start talking.
Yeah. So, we never find out whether that was something that was real or not.
That one doesn't really get explained.
No.
I think it's just because I think it's because later on they're dealing with so much bigger stuff.
That's true.
That they just like door slamming shuts minuscule to what's going on after.
So like a good amount of this was like staged by the captain or producer, and 2 other guys are in on it.
Yeah.
So
with his actual team.
Yeah, his actual team.
Yeah, because the people they bring in, I believe, are just people who were interested in volunteering to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And then those 3 are like the main people of Horror Times that are an actual part of the team. And yeah, they said they staged it, and I think it's because like they just don't really believe that all the crazy stuff actually happens.
Well, they're live streaming, which we didn't even mention. They're live streaming all of this for views, so they can make money.
Yeah, they're like throwing in ads and live streaming for views,
Yes.
so they can make money. Because they said some video of something that happened made $100,000 in ad revenue, so they were like, we need to get 1 million views. We can get it all the way up.
Yeah. So, they're throwing that stuff in to
all
get
that
more
influencer
views.
crap.
And, exactly. To like scare the people who are volunteering into thinking that there are things actually happening, getting like real reactions out of people. So so some of these things we don't know whether they were staged by the producers or not.
Yeah.
So after the door slamming shut, they go to check out I think it was like the bath. It was like the shower room, maybe.
Yeah, they split up between the floors.
Yeah.
And then one of the rooms they go into is the shower room. Now the shower room, he mentioned it once that there was that dark spot on the wall.
Yeah.
Where it looked like there was a person.
Yeah.
And the whole movie, I kept just waiting for something to
I
appear
know.
out of it or appear
Yeah.
behind him because of it. And I think that's one thing this movie did well was because of the darkness, the shadows, and the way they filmed it. It just makes you think that like I'm gonna see something, like something's gonna happen, like
Yeah,
something's
the
gonna
whole time you're like sitting there trying to like find stuff in the shadows, and you never do.
You never like fully see anything.
Yeah.
Oh wait, this was after they were in the director's office, and then they see that wig in the
So
ceiling.
there was okay, yeah. At some point, they go into the director's office, and there's just hair hanging down from the ceiling, and they don't investigate it at all. But I think it might have been because the two guys planted
Yeah.
it there, so they were like, "Oh, okay, let's move on now."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I feel like the girls appropriately freak out.
Yeah.
Because it looks like a person's in the ceiling. And then I even put like, are you just not gonna fully make sure that's not a person in the ceiling?
Same. I was like, they don't even check on the hair.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it is because it was staged, and those guys were like, "We're gonna." Well, and then they allude to that, I guess, too, in the shower scene. So like after the spot on the wall, they go into the bathing area with the actual bath, and the guy sees what looks like a person's head sticking out of the water.
It fully did look like a person's head.
It really did.
Yeah.
And of course, appropriately freaks out
Yeah.
because, like, even if it's not a ghost, dead body. Like,
Yeah.
But the girl takes a stick and moves it, and it ends up just being a wig in the water.
It was so funny. She's like, "It's just a wig.
It's just a wig," and he's like freaking out, as she's like putting.
She's
it in
like
his
chasing
face,
him with it.
And that's another thing this movie did good was like those moments of comedy that were just like Because it's like you're normal people going on a paranormal investigation thing. Not everything's gonna be serious.
Exactly.
Like, some stuff's gonna happen that's really stupid.
Exactly.
But yeah, I think that was another thing with this movie alluding to the fact that it was staged a little bit was the fact that she was like, "Oh, it's just a wig in the water." She's like, maybe somebody put this here as a joke.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, yeah, staging.
At the next, I have like at the columnation of like. Am I using that word? Am I saying the right word? Am I using the right word? I can't.
Culmination?
Thank you. Yeah. I don't know why I can't say that right now.
It's fun. I couldn't say pronunciate earlier. So.
Yeah. Of the first.
I couldn't pronunciate.
Is pronunciate even a word?
I don't even know.
I don't think it is. It's
Because
pronunciated.
if you're pronunciating.
Pronunciated.
Is that how you pronounce that?
Yeah.
Am I making up a word?
Yeah.
Jesus.
I think so. I could be wrong, but.
This is your brain on horror.
They anyway, at the end of the first part of the episode that they have before they go to commercial before they go to a commercial break.
We're struggling.
We're really struggling today. I'm so sorry. And I'm really nasally because my sinuses are just completely blocked up. They were going to go into room 402, which is the spooky room where all these patients committed suicide and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, they just think a lot of people died in that room or were killed in that room.
Yeah. And then they can't get the door open at first, and then they go to a commercial. And when we get back, we're going to go in.
Oh, coming soon.
Yeah.
I just love that they're filming it like such like funny influencers. Like,
exactly.
This is coming soon. Right after these advertisements.
But then they don't. They go to another room and do.
Yeah, they like wait till later.
Yeah,
they're supposed to wait till later in the night to do it.
Oh, it's supposed to be the last thing they do.
The last thing they do.
Yeah. They do a little ritual for summoning the ghosts so they can talk to them or see them.
Yes, I've seen versions because they use it. They use one of those paper talismans that they write words on and then burn. And I've seen those before in other Asian cultures where they like have it over somebody's face and it's supposed to mean something.
Yeah,
it's like supernatural or death or something.
There's
like
a lot
that.
of that in Shinto stuff too. The paper was written on and then
It's always really interesting how they do that stuff, and I've always wanted to look it up, and I just never have. But it's just like, she burns the paper, and then she lights the incense and puts it in. She
has like 2 candles. Incense. She burns the paper.
And then there's red strings all over the room that are covered in bells.
Yeah.
So they can hear if something happens.
Yeah.
And they said they staged that, and I was like, when... Did they go like way beforehand and set that up with all those bells? Right? Because that seems like the amount of strings and bells that were in that room.
Yeah.
I'm like, who set this up?
Right?
Did they just do it real quick? Like, That was my only thing about the ritual room. I was like, this is a lot to set up if you're just setting this up.
It really was, yeah.
Unless it was like already there from something else and they just decided to restage it.
I doubt it.
Yeah.
I think they put it up and then they would have to put it up themselves because they fitted it so that they could like have the bells start jingling and fall down on them.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, the candles blow out after she does the ritual, and they start jingling. All the bells start jingling, and then the strings start breaking and falling down, and they freak out and run out of the room.
And I think it was after that he's introducing another. So he's talking about it and introducing another section and talking about what happened, and then you see a camera glitch. And then they didn't bring it up until later, just a little later, and I didn't realize it, that all 6 people are in this room, but for some reason they're getting an angle behind one of the people who's filming that.
That's funny.
And then later on he brings it up and he's like, all 6 people are here, so
Yeah.
who's filming behind him?
Because the producer was being kind of incredulous towards it because he set all these things up, so he was like... And then he's like, wait a minute.
He's like, why? How am I getting this other angle?
This person, who else is filming?
Yeah. And you see one of them turn around, like they're thinking something's there.
Looking at something.
And it's like, what's filming them? And
exactly.
It's like, oh, I didn't notice that. That's so creepy. Like,
that is really creepy to be pointed, because you never, when you're watching it, you never would have thought of that.
No.
I never would have. So... strings falling down. It was staged by the producer and his 2 friends. The power and video in the tent, like the control tent, starts going out. All the lights go out. You just see like complete darkness where he's looking around for like what's going on. You keep expecting to see something as well in that part, but nothing happens. There's nothing jumping out of the shadows. There's nothing.
No, it makes it seem like there's going to be.
Yeah.
I mean, even being in a tent in the middle of the forest and everything goes out. I mean, he's freaking out because of the equipment and whatever. And
yeah, exactly.
I'd be freaking out for other reasons.
Yeah.
Than the equipment.
Yeah.
Like, is there somebody in this tent with me?
Right.
Like, what happened? Yeah, it sets it up to make you think. Well, because before that, the stove next to him, the camping stove, the flames go up super crazy, and then he turns them off, and then the power shuts out.
Yeah.
So it really makes you think, like, okay, something's in there with him.
Yeah. And obviously, it kind of points out that obviously there's the entire ground, like the entire area is haunted, not just the asylum.
Yeah.
Or it like is bleeding out, into the surrounding forest. I'm gonna start talking like Moira. Forest. From then, you don't really know what's staged or not. I don't know. I'm losing I'm completely. I'm trying to I can't.
Yeah. So at that point, you're questioning even more the staging of it, because they do say at some point, like, I remember, it was like when he runs on the hall, he's like, we staged these.
Yeah.
Whatever's happening right now, this is not staged.
Yeah.
Like, we don't know what's going on. And I think it was the moment you see him really freak out and realize that it's not everything they set up was when they put their arm into that box.
Yeah.
So he gets grabbed, and it's like, obviously he could have faked that.
Yeah, exactly. It looked like he did.
But then when she does it, she like actually gets grabbed by something, and then she gets scratched.
Yeah,
and
really
you see
badly
scratch marks that are
scratched,
like super badly scratched, which nobody tries to bandage up.
Oh. And I'm doing a podcast by myself.
I have deceased. I am deceased. Yeah, she gets really badly scratched up, and then you see the other girl's scarf float in the air, which is I believe, a foreshadowing to later on when they're in their forest.
Yeah.
Because she gets grabbed by the scarf.
Mm-hmm.
But they actually run. And I thought it was so funny because, like, they're actually getting freaked out and running, and then there's 2 of
they're
them.
like, we're leaving.
Yeah.
We're done.
And then there's 2 of them that are up on the 4th floor setting up the flash cameras and the sensors, because their goal is to get into 402.
Yeah.
But they're setting up the cameras and stuff, and they can hear them screaming, and I just love the girl, like, they're like screaming like they're being chased by pirates. Like, is what she says.
So
and I'm like, that's so funny.
They kind of were.
It was like this moment of this is terrifying, and then they're just like, what is going on?
I wrote like I did write a note at some point that says, "Is the overacting a cultural thing?" I don't know, because it's like.
I will say at least in a lot of South Korean movies and TV shows I've seen,
Yeah.
They play it up like
That's what I
crazy.
thought. I thought it was like kind of just a cultural thing.
Yeah,
like,
and I don't know if that's just like if they're just like that everyday life.
I doubt it.
Which I kind of doubt, or if it's just like because it's a movie and they're dramatization of things,
Yeah.
that they're just playing it up more.
Yeah, because the screaming was out of control.
Oh, the screaming and
like,
the screaming and the shaking and
girl,
the movement was
calm
like
down.
very out of control. It's one of those like I know you got scratched, but can we calm down?
Yeah, because it was like just complete. What is the hysteria? Like just like screaming.
It was like, and I love it because he does it and then he freaks out and you see how much he shakes and does it. And it's like obviously he was acting for it because you hear the captain, the producer guy go, "Can you shake a little more? Shake the camera a little more."
Yeah.
And I'm like, can he shake the camera more? Because
it's already shaking it a lot.
It's starting to go a little crazy.
Things are falling off of it.
I don't, because they get the scratch in that, and it was after that they go back into, because the two girls originally found that laboratory.
Yeah, so they find that laboratory, and one of the girls accidentally knocks something off of the shelf, and it was like a chicken in a jar or something. Well, you never find out what it was.
It looked like a chicken.
Yeah, but it like smelled terrible, and like it was like it was a core memory for her.
Yeah. And then she sees the doll in the cabinet.
The doll.
And so the doll was supposed to be the same doll that one of the patients is holding in the picture with the director when they have all those people.
Yeah.
You find out later that they staged the doll.
Yeah.
But when they go back into the room later after this whole scenario with the locker happens and everything, the doll has moved.
Yeah.
To another point, and he picks it up, and of course she's freaking out that he picked it up because it's been moved, and she's like, "No, cursed item. This is cursed.
Yeah.
Like, don't touch things. Don't do this."
Yeah.
And he just doesn't care because they know that they staged it.
Exactly.
But it really affected her so badly that the two try to leave. And in the beginning, one of them was Charlotte.
Yes.
Charlotte was the girl freaking out that he touched the doll. In the beginning, she actually graffitied her name in the asylum. Perfectly. I mean, it was honestly awesome. But there was a symbol beneath it. It was in Korean, and it said, "Let's live."
I can't remember. Something like, what was that noise? Okay. So something outside. Okay. Yeah,
it was like let's live or whatever, and then whenever they get back, she realizes that the symbol on the wall below her name has changed to "Let's die."
Yeah, she was like running. They were running out, and then they noticed that.
Yeah.
And then they told the producer to go back and two of the guys asked the producer to go back and look.
Because
he's like, no, it says the same thing, even though it was clearly didn't.
Because like that's something they did not stage, and when they're like, "Can you go back and look at it?" He's got both videos up, like in a still, and you can see that one of them, they're different from each other, and it did switch, is, and he just decided to lie to them so that they don't leave. But the two girls decide to leave and go into the forest, and I'm sorry, but like,
what a good idea.
I know the asylum's crazy, but I probably would have just hung out on the steps and not try to traverse the forest.
Yeah, because who knows what's in the forest?
Like, who knows what's in the forest at night? I mean, even if it's not a ghost, there could be animals.
Exactly. I don't know what kind of predators are in Korea, but I assume there's something.
Wouldn't want to find out.
Yeah.
By like going traversing the forest by myself. So yeah, they go out in the forest, and then at this point the two guys are freaked out.
Yeah.
Because this is not what they staged or signed up for, and so now they're asking that everybody get paid more. And they're like, we will leave unless you pay us more.
Yeah.
We will stop it right here.
Yeah.
Which, smart. I mean, I thought it was smart for the two girls to want to leave. I mean, obviously, it doesn't always work out. But, Yeah, they decide to stay because he agrees to up their pay by 20%.
Yeah.
They're getting 20% now.
But then shit starts flying all over the room.
Oh yeah, they go into a room and they try to leave, but then the door is locked.
Yeah.
And they turn around and everything's on the ceiling.
Yeah.
And then falls. And then all of a sudden everything's just getting flown around the room and one of them gets knocked out by something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he ends up having to leave him there because he gets dragged out of the room by something. And when he tries to run back, the door shuts on him.
Yeah.
So now he's like, great. Like, and then he gets thrown backwards because of the door and knocked out.
Yeah.
So we got 2 knocked out people in the asylum. We have people on the 4th floor who don't know what's going on because
they're still trying to get in the room.
They're trying to get in the room and they were setting up the cameras. And we have 2 people in the forest.
Yeah.
At this point.
Oh, and we go back to the 2 people in the forest. And they find the underwear that they stuck to a tree or tied to a tree, and they're like, "Oh, this must be the right way."
I would not have touched that.
I know.
It's so bad, and it was like stained and everything. I'm
But
like, come on.
they keep running around the forest forever, and they're like, "I don't know where the tent is. They can't find it." But then they find that there's underwear tied to lots of trees.
Oh yeah, it's like they ended up going in a circle
Yeah.
a bunch of times
Yeah.
and like seeing it.
So they're lost, and one of the what, you like put your hand up like you were gonna be like, shut up,
shut your mouth. I really liked the way they transitioned in this movie to things towards the end.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Totally.
You never really see this type of stuff in a found footage movie.
No.
I think there's one other movie that I hope we do later that you do kind of get that, and that was As Above, So Below.
Uh-huh.
But the transition of we see the underwear again, and we're still in the same place in the forest, and when she looks down, it's the chicken again, and it's everything that was in the lab with them.
Yeah. So she like looks down. There's like all the lab stuff, the microscope, and the
it's like where it exactly
thing.
was.
Yeah,
too, like everything.
And she's like, "Wait a minute, what the fuck?" And then she looks up to her friend, and her friend is just, it's like that horror movie thing where it's like, "Hello," she's just staring off into space,
Which I totally forgot when she did it. I thought, oh, she's gonna jump with the camera, but I totally forgot she had a camera attached to her face.
Yeah.
So whenever she does the transition, and you just see how dead she looks,
yeah,
her eyes are taken, and she starts muttering something in Korean.
Yeah.
Really fast. That was really creepy the way they did that. It was a really cool way they did it.
I think the creepiest part was the items from the lab being outside.
Oh yeah,
that was super creepy.
I looked down and I was like, I was just in a room with all this stuff.
And then she is back in
the
asylum. She never left or something.
It was like they're outside. She sees her friend. Her eyes are now black. She looks dead. She's like muttering Korean like really fast, like whatever she's saying, because it doesn't subtitle it.
No.
And she starts to run to the forest. And what's creepy is you keep hearing that really fast talking behind her, and so it just seems like she's getting chased. And I was getting like anxious because it just seemed like she was like getting chased by the person too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then she finds the tent, or she thinks she finds the tent.
Yeah.
Goes into the tent. It's dark.
Uh-huh.
She calls for the captain, the producer, not there, and then you realize, oh, she's back in the asylum.
Well, yeah, because she's like, she has a flashlight, and then she's like shining it around,
and then you see whenever she moves it, because she entered a tent, but when she moves the flashlight, all of a sudden it's cement walls and everything, and you realize she's back in the asylum. Yeah. That transition was so cool.
That was really good.
I love the way they did that.
And then as she's like going around the room, suddenly she sees like a naked.
Well, she sees her friend.
She sees her friend just
Blair
staring
Witch style
into
the corner.
Yeah, yeah.
Total ending of Blair Witch style.
Yeah.
And then you see this naked man or like
creature.
I think was a patient because the doll's now on her foot, and I think it's the patient.
It was the patient that was kind of like his limbs were. Kind
he was
of
like messed
this.
up.
Yeah.
But the way they made him look.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of Asian horror does this, where they have their spirits look crazy. Like
where like limbs move weird. It's like
limbs move weird and all this stuff. And like I always love the way they do it.
Yeah.
Because it's terrifying. It's like this heightened version of like, because it's like seeing a mythical creature kind of thing, or a cryptid.
Yeah.
Here it's like, oh, there was a woman in white, but for them it's like, no, this is like full on spirit, like creepy, like. And to me, I was just the second she put a flashlight on him, and he's got like his whole stomach is like scarred up, like he was ripped open, or cut open and stuff. I was just like, Silent Hill. It looks like Silent Hill creature.
Yeah.
Japanese horror.
Yeah.
It looks Silent Hill.
Korean horror.
Yeah, well, this one's Korean horror. Silent Hill's Japanese horror.
Oh yeah.
So there's like parallels in the way like Asian cultures kind of do.
That's true.
Spirits and stuff. She tries to open the door, but she keeps taking her eyes off of him, and I was like, I would not take my eyes off of this thing standing in the room.
She keeps moving the flashlight away from it. I'm like, why would you do that?
Done that while trying to open the door.
Yeah, like keep your eye on that thing the whole time.
Because it seems to move when she's not looking at it.
Exactly. So look at it.
Keep your eye on it, please. Yeah, I always thought that was...
I thought you said keep your eye on it, Queen.
Keep your eye on it, Queen.
Keep your eye on it, Queen. Jeez.
It's there for you. Keep your eye on it. Yeah, I always liked... When you get different Asian horror movies, even like The Grudge. I think the original is Ju-on.
Yeah.
Like those spirits, very similar to South Korean kind of spirits. And they all have this like... kind of just... It's just the way they do... spirits and demons and things is very similar.
It is similar. The black eyes.
Yeah.
It
makes it makes it more.
Sorry.
So I'll be hosting this alone now.
We're both dying.
We're both
today.
dying. It makes it very not. It's like a hyper version of a person of realism.
Yeah.
And I just think it makes it creepier.
Oh, totally.
It makes it seem more like the spirit is something that is taken by the emotion it was killed in, or something like, in The Grudge, it's like, they're killed in anger.
Yeah.
So it's like a vengeful, like, creature spirit.
Yeah.
And this, it's like, we were held here and tortured. Like, I looked like tortured and stuff. And I even looked it up because a lot of them, even like, The Grudge, the little boy's drowned. In this, we got a bunch of water and spirits. A
lot of water.
Even like The Ring, or even the original Ring, it's drowned in a well.
Yeah.
And I think it's cultural. In some areas, it's just like water's like a conduit for spirits to be able to come into the world more easily.
That's like a pan universal like thing that almost all like cultures have that.
It's like the element of water is frequently associated with mystery, the unknown, and is believed to be a conduit for spirits, allowing them to manifest more easily in many cultures.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just that's just like a running theme, especially with Asian horror. It's a running theme.
It's like a lot of like American horror too. It's there's like a well in the basement, or there's or even like actual haunted houses that are said to be haunted here. A lot of them are on top of like natural wells and like things like that. It's interesting.
It is.
We talked about this before, Ghostbusters.
But also even like Stephen King's it's like the house that he stays in it's in the sewer.
Yep.
And it's a well house.
Yeah.
And flooded basement, he comes out of the water. Like it's all water. Like it's just it makes kind of sense to be a transition element through worlds, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of a cool running theme through a lot of these. But yeah, I always loved the way they did their spirits, because it just seemed to be the embodiment of either how they died or the emotion of how they died.
Yeah.
Coming back to life to remedy that. Basically. But yeah, I digress.
So we're back outside of 402 with two survivors, basically, the two people who are trying to get into 402 and have no idea really what's going on. And then one of the guys wakes up.
Yeah, the guy on the outside of the door who was trying to get in, when he gets on, he wakes up, freaks out.
Yeah.
Runs down the hallway, and I also loved these shots because he's running down the hallway, and you just see the camera flash as it's going off, and you just get that weird thing that even your eyes do whenever you're in super dark and a camera flashes, where everything looks like it's moving in like jolty or in slow mo.
Yeah.
Running down the hallway. It's just such a cool hallway shot. I'm obsessed with hallway shots.
I know.
Ever since The Shining. But yeah, him running down the hallway and having the flash of the camera, and then they're at 402. They're trying to like buzzsaw it open, which is not working.
No.
They just can't get this door open. And then he tries to run back down the hallway, but then something else is setting off the flashes in the hallway, so he runs back.
Yeah.
and the door to 402 opens.
Well,
What?
before that,
Yeah.
though, no, before that, he runs up to them. That's when he is like, "We staged all of this, like, but we didn't stage the stuff that's happening right now."
Yeah.
And they hear from the inside, Charlotte pounding on the door to get out.
This also really cool because in the beginning you're with Charlotte when she sees her friend and and like the patient, and you kind of don't know where she is.
Yeah.
A little bit, and she's trying to open the door, and then whenever they go into this scene, it's like, oh, this is like maybe 5 minutes before that happens.
Exactly.
Because then it starts up and you can hear her banging on the door and trying to get out, and then she gets pulled away.
Yeah.
Just like in the video. It's just it's such cool transitions
Yeah.
into that and how they just like lead into it.
Yeah.
I love that.
But she was somehow dragged into 402, and then it opens, and they go inside.
It was like the thing was tricking her, thinking she was going into the tent.
Yeah.
By tricking her into going into the room.
Yeah.
Which obviously, like, she was pulled there somehow because otherwise those people would have seen her going into the room. Yeah. So she was pulled into this room somehow, and it's like, it's just a big empty room, but it's like terrifying.
Yeah, they're all in there now.
Yeah.
And the floor is completely covered in water now. There's like a good couple of inches of water on the floor now.
And it's on the ceiling.
Oh yeah, and the water is on the ceiling.
The water's on the ceiling,
so
but it's like
throw things into the water.
It's not it's not like dripping water. It's like, oh, this is like a pool of water just sitting on the ceiling. Yeah. And somebody says like, there's a girl in there that's staring at us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Through this water, and he throws something up, and it just goes into the water.
Yeah. And then he starts. I think the lights go out. He uses his night vision camera to look into the corner, and there's someone there.
Yeah.
And he like keeps freaking out, like just putting it up for like a second to look at it.
Don't get to see much because every time he does it, he jump scares himself and like puts it back down because she's like getting kind of closer. The creepiest part to me was like when he looked at them and you see the hands go over one of their faces, and then the second he shines the light, it goes away, and then he looks at her, and then they go away, and I was like, whoa, like, like that's terrifying, like because he didn't seem to see it. Yeah. Whenever they were going over his face, and he's like, "There's hands over your face," and they like disappeared. And, and then the second he looks at her, it's like, "Oh, they're in the darkness. She's trying to take them, but the light is making her go away for a second." So creepy.
That was really creepy. I liked that. I did like the. Then he put the night cam up, and he saw like a row of patients. There's like a bunch of them. I don't know if that's picking up on there. There's like a kid running around outside really loudly. Anyway.
I thought it was a bird for 2 seconds, too.
I know.
I also thought it was your foot under the table, and it just sounded like footsteps were coming up to us at the table, and I was like, what's happening right now?
What's going on? Oh, there's a whole line of, oh my God, I'm so tired. There's a whole line of patients standing by the wall. And then they start killing. Yeah.
Yeah, you hear them like they're like making noises too. It's like really creepy, and then it seems that the main girl like grabs them and takes them over.
Yeah.
It's not really like it didn't really seem like they got killed. It was more so like she took
taken.
Disappeared. Like, yeah. They've been disappeared. At this point, because he no longer sees them, the producer's just getting angry and decides to go into the place himself.
Mm-hmm. Even though he's aware that things are actually happening, so he's a little scared.
He's like a little scared, but he's also getting like pissy because
he just wants that money.
He just wants the money.
Yeah.
And I feel like the ending of his whole thing was really cool too, because he looks and he can see through the window into 402, and he sees something moving around.
Yeah, with his drone.
It was the drone.
Yeah.
And then when he goes in, 402's open.
Mm-hmm.
Goes in. The shot of like it's like right below his leg, and you can see his leg, and behind him you just see this thing float up behind him.
Yeah.
That was the way. I don't know how they did it.
That was really good.
It was so cool because it was just like silent, and it was just this like girl in a robe just like right behind him.
Yeah.
And then slowly turns around, and when he uses the night vision, you just see this like insanely creepy.
Yeah, he looks over his shoulder with the night vision.
Yeah.
It's just that face. Like,
and it's like I love it in found footage movies when they do end up getting creative with the way they use the equipment. There was another movie. It was Blair Witch. It wasn't the Blair Witch Project. There was that newer Blair Witch movie that came out. Um,
I didn't see it.
it was a sequel, but
Oh,
it was still
okay.
found footage. They did do an actual sequel to that movie that was terrible. But there was a Blair Witch. It was actually, I think, Adam Wingard who did like You're Next and uh, The Guest and stuff, like like these other independent horror movies. But there was a scene in it where she can't get to you if you're looking at her, and like, or she's on camera and she's like in the room backing out of this house, and you can see her behind her, but every time she's on camera, you see her like move off to the side or around, and it's like super creepy.
Yeah.
But it's like it's getting creative with the camera equipment.
Yeah.
And I just love it. Like, even if the movie's not great, if they like have ways of like getting creative with the equipment, because it's found footage. Like, you can only do so much with like camera angles and stuff when this is your angle is POV.
Yeah.
POV, you're haunted. But yeah, I thought that was a cool way to do it, where it's like night vision and to look over his shoulder instead of turning around.
Yeah.
So you can actually see what
That was good.
he's looking at. And then he gets hung.
Yeah.
Dead.
Dead.
Hung dead.
Dead. And then the guy that we forgot about, who was knocked out in the other room, that was locked in the room and knocked out. He wakes up and I think he's locked in the cabinet, those little cabinets, the one that got pulled through. I think that's what he's in.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
Because like I couldn't fully see what was going on.
Yeah, I think he was locked in one of the, because he could. There was that square that was about chest height that they had. That's what I saw.
Well,
so I think that's what it was. He was locked in one of those little cabinets.
Okay, because when the producer gets taken, we see the drone crash
Uh-huh.
because nobody's controlling it.
Yeah.
But the noises that were being made whenever that guy wakes up, it sounded like the drone
was
flying around in the room, right?
Yeah,
I mean, it was going past all the cabinets, and you could see faces in all of them. And then something happens to him, he gets taken. I couldn't fully see what happened to him.
Yeah, you don't quite understand what happens to him. I don't think. I think they left it kind of vague.
But the noises of the people in the cabinets and the drone noise together just made it so like.
Yeah.
Can you imagine being alone? You're seeing ghosts. You hear this noise. You're alone in this asylum. You actually don't know that you're alone. That everybody's dead.
Yeah.
Like, that's terrifying. Like, it's so creepy. And then I love it because like after all that and them having admitted everything, it goes back to they were at like 700,000 viewers.
Yeah.
Or above that, and then all of a sudden it's back down to 500, and all the comments are like, they obviously staged this.
Yeah.
This is so fake.
Yeah.
Like, this is really stupid.
But then we do see, for a little bit, we see some static cam footage. It kind of goes between each camera for a second at the end, and you see the showers turn on.
Yeah.
One of the motion sensitive cameras moves along with something. That's not there, and
And then like on the actual like live video, as their artwork, I guess, is they have like what looks like a demon girl in a chair.
Much.
And it's been there the whole time, and you're like, okay, this is just the backdrop to their live video.
Yeah.
And then at the very end, it actually gets up and moves and disappears.
She like gets up and walks away.
Like it's actually been something watching them the whole time.
Yeah, that was a little, and that is Gonjiam Haunted Asylum.
Yeah. I was gonna ask, because we're getting more into paranormal stuff. Were there any other paranormal experiences you've had?
Jeez. Okay, one off the top of my head is driving around in Sedona in a place that is not too traversable, really. I mean, you can if you have like one of those Jeeps or something, which I did not, but I took my truck there anyway, which is a very bad idea. I like ruined my truck doing that when I was young. But car like worked perfectly fine, but then there was this one area that just felt weird.
Yeah.
And I said to my friend, it feels like someone's in the back seat almost, doesn't it? And he's like, yeah. And
no thanks.
the headlights turned off.
Oh, fuck.
They went really dim. They like slowly went dim.
Yeah.
And then I just felt like someone was there. It just felt strange. Like I shouldn't be there. When we got past that point, headlights went back up. I didn't feel like anyone was there anymore. That particular area I felt was just one of those areas.
It's just like a weird stretch of road.
It was one of those areas where people shouldn't be. That was one of those things. To me,
it's weird how that stuff like affects electrical
Yeah.
stuff because of the
Yeah.
energy and everything. That's so creepy. That's just like one little stretch of road where it's like, yeah, we picked up a hitchhiker without knowing it, and the headlights just went out, and now they're gone, and the headlights are back on.
It felt very like, I don't, I do tend to believe in some sort of mythical things too, and I feel it was kind of like a, I don't know, like a mythical spirit of the land, or uh what like
Probably a guardian.
Irish people would call fairies, or you know.
Right.
I feel like that was kind of, you know, what it was to me, but
Like, it didn't seem like it was something like mean.
well, I think it was something that was saying, get the hell, like, don't be here,
Like, kind of just like
You
a
shouldn't
warning
be
of
here.
like, I'm kind of
Yeah.
guarding this
You need
space.
to leave.
Please leave.
yeah.
I think because the last time we talked about it, I think I brought up that cold spot we had in that apartment in
Yeah.
Seattle
Yeah.
with that woman my mom was seeing at the time, the shaman lady, and there was another one. It was one of my it's one of my ex-boyfriends. We had just started dating, and his grandparents live in Mesa.
Okay.
This house, but they had a house in Kentucky. They would go there like, I can't remember if it was during the summer or winter. They would go to Kentucky and just stay at that house for like months.
Yeah.
So they would have my ex watch their house and stuff. So he took me there one time, told me nothing about the house, which apparently has a crazy history of like things happening. So like we're sitting there, he's like, "Oh, I got to go get something out of the truck." It's like 11. It hits like 11 p.m.
Yeah.
And he's like outside, and for some reason the feeling just drops in the house, and I felt weird.
Huh.
And I didn't know why, because I didn't know anything about the house.
Yeah.
And it felt like somebody, because the computer was the back, your back to the hallway into the second living room they had.
Yeah.
And it kept feeling like somebody was watching me from the hallway, and I'm like, why do I feel like somebody's watching me? Like what is this? And so he like, I have no reason to not feel comfortable in this house. Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And he comes back in, and I tell him about it when we leave the house, and he decides to tell me the whole story of the house. And I'm like, you left me alone in this house. And it's like, oh, his cousin was experiencing stuff. Like, he would always see this woman in the back room, which used to be his like uncle's room, who had died. It was an overdose. In the house, but apparently once after he died, the house actually quieted down.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was because his spirit was then watching over the house.
Maybe, yeah.
But when his cousin was younger, his cousin would always see this really creepy bald old man in the house, glowing eyes.
Trixie Mattel.
Really yes. Out of Drek. And this
I'm just suddenly thinking of like sitting there, and then you just turn around and like Trixie's just smiling in the corner.
girl.
She's like,
So he would always see this this man, and I know that my ex's dad had seen him too, and his dad's like a super skeptic, but he had seen this guy staring at them in the pool one time.
Oh.
And the other one was this woman. And his cousin would tell us, like, yeah, like, I remember when I was a kid waking up in that room and, like, looking, because the bed, you could see straight into the bathroom in that room. And he was like, yeah, she was looking in the mirror, and she was, like, messed up, but she was, like, putting herself back together. And then she looked at me in the mirror, and that's, like, when I put the over my head, and then, like, his mom had all these stories of, like, yeah, like, this litter of puppies was run over outside of the house, and when she was taking a bath, she could see paw prints going in the hallway with nothing there. The doorbell would ring by itself. They would see this one of his cousin's friends saw this like shadow figure walk up to his car. He thought it was his friend, but when he looked back up, it was gone. And he's like, I literally drove down the street and told him like, you can meet me down the street, like, like all this stuff. And after their uncle died, it quieted down, but the woman never left. So like, if you were in that house past 11 o'clock, you could hear her talking in the back room. I could never make out what she was saying. But you literally could hear somebody talking in the back room. And I remember one time his cousin was there. His cousin was not a quiet person, loud.
Yeah.
She was like trying to talk over him. Like it was getting louder back there. And it wasn't until Halloween one night we went over there. It was like, oh, creepy house. Let's go watch some 70s horror movie. It was like The Legend of Hell House, or, that Vincent Price was in, I think.
Oh, okay. Hill House. The Haunting of Hill House.
It wasn't. It was
Haunting
It was like The Legend of Hell House, or
Hell House. Okay.
yeah, it was something.
They're all in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. If maybe he
those
wasn't in
old
it.
ones are all the same.
But his friend kept thinking she was hearing something. So we went back there and we put our ears to the wall in the second living room, which had the wall shared with that room.
Mm-hmm.
We heard her say, "Help me," 3 times.
Oh, God.
I didn't react to it until the second one because I wasn't sure what was happening. And he heard it echo from the room into the living room. I heard it through the wall.
Huh.
I freaked out. His cousin and I ended up seeing a shadow move across the kitchen at some point while we were there that night, too. It was a whole thing. But what's super weird about it is you can hear 2 people in the other living room when you're in the main room. It sounds like they're plotting something. And then you hear this woman in the back room.
Huh.
That room was added on at some point before his grandparents moved in. They don't know who lived there before the people. It was like the people who lived there before them they knew, but not the people who lived there first.
Oh, okay.
The room was added on in like the 70s.
Huh.
And she was putting herself back together. You got these 2 guys. My theory... she's buried underneath that add-on to that room.
Oh, God.
I've heard her. Our friend saw her in the doorway. His cousin used to see her. It just seems really sketchy.
Interesting.
But yeah, that house had a lot of stuff going on. I mean, there's even more than that was going on.
Yeah.
Like when his cousin was staying there and his girlfriend was in the room and she had her back facing the doorway and somebody sat on the bed and thought she was talking to his cousin, and then his cousin walks into the room and he wasn't there the whole time.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Like, of course, his grandparents are like, oh, the TV must be on back there, or the radio, and he's like, there's no TV in that room. But yeah, that long story short, it's like really creepy house that I think she lives alone in now. So I think his grandfather passed away, but I mean, it was very interesting, and that's when I say, like, I've had way more experiences, way too many experiences to say that it's not real.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or that some form of it is real.
Yeah.
But yeah, that house used to creep me out, and we lived there for a little bit one time when his mom was going through some stuff, and when he'd be at work and I'd be alone in that house at night, hated it. I would have to stay in the living room. I could hear people talking. I constantly felt like somebody was watching me. And they told you that even though she's in that back room, you have to sleep in that back room. Otherwise, you have bad dreams. You have to close the door. Otherwise, you have terrible dreams, all this stuff. And I remember I was alone and passing out on the couch during the day.
Yeah.
And I got woken up by a in my ear. It scared the crap out of me. And, like, just being in that house alone was not okay.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
But yeah, long story.
Well, that was spooky.
Yes. But yeah, it was honestly very well made found footage horror movie.
Yeah.
I know they on like Prime it had like an average of like a 3 stars.
It was 3.5.
I'd say 3.5 is good, or
that I am going to give it 3.5 granny panties because they were the granny panties they found outside.
I'm gonna give it 3.5 creepy dolls.
Oh yeah, you can even do 3.5 wigs.
3.5 wigs.
3.5 long black wigs.
3.5 water spirits. Whatever you want to do.
Yeah. Well, thank you for listening to Horror Legend. That's the name of it. Horror Legend.
What did we call it?
I don't know. Make sure to like and subscribe. Write some comments on our YouTube videos.
Tell your friends.
Tell your friends.
I mean, if they're interested in horror, or if you guys want to hear more about us, paranormal experiences, or just about us in general, or any questions about movies. I love talking about movies. So.
It does. It does.
I annoy people. I can go on for hours.
Well, until next time, goodbye.
Goodbye.